I am 103 years old. I'm sitting on my front porch right now. I am wearing a bright pink silk dress. I am also wearing oversized, fuzzy neon green slippers. My young neighbor just walked by my house. She stopped dead in her tracks. She stared at my feet. She looked at me in pure shock. Well, I just smiled right back at her. I took a slow sip of my ice water. I went right back to rocking in my chair. Society expects older women to be constantly panicked. They expect us to worry about every single wrinkle. They want us to keep our homes looking like untouched museums. They demand we dress in beige, sensible clothes. Chasing that fantasy life is a massive trap. It is the fastest way to drain your energy. It completely kills your brain sparkle. It ruins your daily peace. Real healthy aging does not require perfection. It requires absolute physical comfort. It is about building a good daily life. I refuse to apologize for my own comfort. I live in my body. I make the rules. Today I will tell you about 5 heavy rules society tried to force on me. I dropped them straight into the trash. I did this to protect my personal kingdom. You must guard your boundaries. I want you to listen to me very closely, sugar. You cannot have a happy ending to a miserable journey. I stopped being miserable decades ago. I stopped caring about foolish rules. Now, let us talk about the 5 things. I never worry about these things anymore. Let us start with the very first thing I completely threw out. I call it the special occasion illusion. We all know exactly what this is. You buy a beautiful set of heavy crystal glasses. You buy stunning white china plates with real gold rims. You fold up your finest silk dresses. You place all these beautiful items inside a dark wooden cabinet. You lock the glass doors. You wait for a perfect day to finally use them. You wait for a fancy dinner party. You wait for a major milestone anniversary. You wait for the Queen of England to visit your living room. You are basically rationing your own daily joy. You put your everyday happiness inside a dusty cardboard box. You hoard your best moments for a magical future date. You wait and you wait. Well, that magical future date never actually comes. You just age. Your knees start to ache. Your eyes get a little cloudy. You eventually pass away. You just end up leaving behind a house full of pristine, unused items. Your exhausted adult children eventually have to pack all those perfect plates into garbage bags. They donate your hidden treasures to a local thrift store. It is a tragic waste of a good life. Hoarding joy is a terrible habit. I woke up one morning and realized the absolute absurdity of this behavior. I marched straight into my dining room. I pulled open those heavy wooden cabinet doors. I smelled the old dusty wood. I took out every single expensive crystal glass. I took out every delicate gold-rimmed plate. I carried them all right into my everyday kitchen. I put my cheap plastic cups into the trash can. Now I drink plain cold tap water from a heavy crystal goblet every single morning. The water tastes better in crystal. I hear a lovely clinking sound when I set it down. I eat my slightly burnt butter toast on a plate trimmed with 24-karat gold. I wear my absolute best silk dress just to sit on the front porch. I sit there and read a cheap paperback novel. The silk feels wonderful against my old skin. I refuse to wait for a special event anymore. I am 103 years old. Every single day my lungs successfully fill with air is a highly exclusive event. Every morning I wake up on the right side of the dirt is a major celebration. Staying alive this long is the only special occasion I will ever need. The second heavy burden I dropped was physical torture for the sake of public approval. Society expects older women to remain perfectly presentable at all times. Women spend decades punishing their own bodies. We squeeze our stomachs into tight girdles. We buy stiff leather shoes. Those awful shoes give us horrible bleeding blisters. We wear stiff pants. Those pants make us hold our breath every time we sit down at a table. We endure chronic pain. We do all of this just to look visually acceptable to complete strangers. It is a completely ridiculous way to navigate the world. Chasing that fantasy life is exhausting. It drains your vital energy. The ultimate power in this life is absolute physical comfort. I threw away every single item of clothing that pinched my waist. I threw away every shoe that hurt my old toes. I replaced my entire wardrobe with soft cotton. I embraced the glorious freedom of elastic waistbands. I bought myself a pair of oversized fuzzy neon green slippers. They look absolutely ridiculous. They keep my feet incredibly warm. They feel like walking on actual clouds. My ridiculous green slippers are my new crown jewels. Let me tell you a little story about defending these slippers. I went to the local grocery store last Tuesday at exactly 2 in the afternoon. I did not feel like dressing up. I wore my softest blue flannel pajamas. I wore my giant fuzzy green slippers out in public. I walked right into the bright produce section. The fluorescent lights were shining down on the fruit. I was carefully inspecting a large pile of Honeycrisp apples. I wanted to find the absolute crispiest one. A young man walked right up next to me. He wore a very tight navy blue business suit. His tie was pulled tight against his throat. He had perfectly slicked back hair. He wore far too much cheap cologne. He had a very smug smile on his face. He looked slowly down at my massive green slippers. He looked back up at my pajama pants. He chuckled in a very patronizing way. He leaned in close to me. He spoke to me in a sickeningly sweet baby voice. He asked if we forgot to wear our nice clothes today, sweetie. Well, he messed with the wrong grandmother. I did not blink. I did not gasp. I slowly turned my head. I looked straight up into his perfectly shaved face. I gave him a completely deadpan stare. I drained all the emotion right out of my eyes. I told him I did not forget a single thing, sonny boy. I explained the rules of my kingdom to him very clearly. I kept my voice perfectly flat. I told him I have survived a full century on this spinning rock. I told him I lived through actual historical tragedies. I have earned the absolute right to care a whole lot more about my comfort than what he thinks looks nice. I told him my ancient feet are finally happy. I told him my waist is finally happy. I looked closely at his red neck. I told him his tight little suit looks incredibly restrictive. I told him he should try breathing normally sometime. His smug smile immediately vanished. He looked very uncomfortable. He took a step back. Then I pointed my wrinkly finger right at his chest. I told him to step aside. I told him to move his expensive leather shoes. He was blocking my direct access to the biggest apples. The third giant burden I dropped was managing the emotional weather of other people. I spent 50 years acting as a giant emotional sponge for my entire family. I was a mother to 3 very loud children. I absorbed every single drop of their daily anxiety. I listened to their endless complaints about their terrible bosses. I heard every detail about their bad marriages. I listened to boring stories about their noisy neighbors. My shoulders always felt tight with their borrowed stress. I lay awake at 2 in the morning. I stared at the dark ceiling. I worried sick about a problem my grown son created for himself. My stomach tied itself into painful knots. I lost my appetite over their easily fixable dramas. They completely drained my own vital energy. I realized my massive mistake one day. I lived inside their storm clouds. I sacrificed my own sunny days to fix their rainy ones. Well, I completely shut down that weather station. Now I practice something called the gray rock method. My oldest daughter is 75 years old now. She still calls my house phone just to complain about the supermarket traffic. She calls to vent about the rising price of imported cheese. She wants to suck me right into her dramatic tornado. I simply refuse to participate anymore. I do not offer any helpful solutions. I do not gasp in shock. I do not agree with her loud outrage. I just become as boring and unreactive as a gray rock sitting in the dirt. I hold the phone slightly away from my ear. I look out my kitchen window. I watch the red birds eat seeds from the feeder. I actually paint my fingernails while she complains. I blow on the wet pink polish. I admire my own hands. I let her talk until she runs out of breath. Then I use a perfectly flat voice. I tell her that sounds very frustrating. I tell her she is a highly intelligent adult. I tell her I know she will figure it out. Then I immediately change the subject to my beautiful tomato plants. I call this protecting my thermostat sovereignty. I refuse to let anyone else control the temperature of my own mind. You must build a massive iron wall around your daily peace. The fourth ridiculous thing I completely abandoned is serving imaginary guests. I used to be absolutely terrified of a sudden knock on my front door. I spent my entire middle age scrubbing baseboards with an old yellow toothbrush. I bought expensive chemicals that burned my lungs. Polished the heavy silverware until my fingers felt completely numb. I vacuumed the living room rug until my back screamed in pain. I fluffed the couch pillows until they looked like stiff, colorful bricks. I created a pristine museum environment for an audience of absolute ghosts. I exhausted my own bones just in case a neighbor decided to drop by unannounced. I maintained a flawless stage for people who almost never showed up. It is a terrible way to experience your own home. Your house must function as your private sanctuary. It should never feel like a stressful stage where you have to put on a show. Cleaning for phantoms is a tragic waste of a heartbeat. I officially stopped my performance for the invisible audience. My dining room table currently holds a massive 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzle right in the middle of it. The cardboard pieces cover the wood like a beautiful chaotic mess. The puzzle sat there for 3 whole weeks. I refuse to pack it away. A small coffee ring stains my wooden side table right now. I refuse to wipe it up. I leave my current book face down on the best armchair. I drop my dirty gardening gloves right on the kitchen counter. Any actual visitor today steps directly into my real life. They see the comfortable mess of a woman actively enjoying her existence. People who truly love you ignore a layer of dust on your ceiling fan. People who inspect your house for dust lack any real friendship qualities anyway. I ban those miserable people from my house completely. I only open the door for joyful people. Well, the imaginary health inspectors can go bother someone else. The fifth and final burden I tossed into the garbage is keeping the peace. Society tells older women to remain pleasant and quiet. Society expects us to nod and smile politely at the dinner table. Society wants us to swallow our true opinions to protect everyone else. I spent decades biting my own tongue until it practically bled. I agreed with foolish people just to avoid a minor argument. I smiled at rude strangers. These strangers treated me like a helpless infant. I officially retired from this forced pleasantness. I consider pleasantness a total waste of time. I just say exactly what is on my mind, and that is my true secret to a long life. My doctor sometimes speaks to me like a slow toddler. I look him right in his eyes. I pay him far too much money for his condescending attitude. I demand he lower his pitch and use his adult words. A family member sometimes makes a rude comment at Thanksgiving. I refuse to look down at my plate anymore. I hand the awkwardness right back to them. I ask them to explain their rude comment. I demand they repeat their bad joke loudly to the whole room. I take a slow bite of my cherry pie. I wait in total silence. I watch them squirm in their seats. I refuse to carry their discomfort inside my own body. Speaking your absolute truth protects your peace better than anything else. Letting go of these 5 heavy expectations is absolutely incredible. It feels exactly like dropping a massive boulder off your tired shoulders. Society lied to us for several decades. They told us getting older was a slow, tragic decline. They wanted us to fear the wrinkles and the quiet days. Aging is actually a glorious golden privilege. It is the rare privilege of finally not giving a single damn. You earn the absolute right to exist simply for your own comfort. You do not need to perform for anyone ever again. You can stop saving your best crystal glasses for a magical future. You can stop cleaning your floorboards for invisible health inspectors. You can stop absorbing the endless drama of other adults. You can finally just breathe. True freedom is a perfectly quiet house. I want you to do something very specific for me right now. Do not click on another bright, noisy video on this screen. Do not scroll down to read angry comments from angry strangers. I want you to close this application entirely. Put your heavy phone down on a flat wooden table. Stand up slowly from your comfortable chair. Stretch your stiff back. Walk right over to your nearest window. Look at the real physical world outside for a solid minute. Notice the wind moving the leaves in the trees. Notice the shape of the gray clouds. Forgive someone quickly today just to empty your own brain. Realize you are still breathing air today. You are still standing here on this spinning earth. Well, that makes you the absolute winner of today. If you are wearing your most ridiculous comfortable clothes right now, I am incredibly proud of you. I hope you are wearing big fuzzy slippers too. You are actively protecting your own mental peace. You are successfully defending your own daily joy. I am going to finish my cold glass of water now. I have a very important date with a cheap paperback novel. I will sit on my front porch until the sun finally goes down. I will ignore the neighbors completely. I hope you find your own quiet porch today. I hope you guard your personal peace like a fierce dragon. Goodbye for now, sugar.